SLA E9, Complexity Theory and Dynamic Systems. Within the framework of complexity theory and dynamic systems is the idea that complexity arises as a result of interaction of various individuals and components of language. Order seems to emerge out of nowhere. What is more, this complexity or order is not reducible to the action of one component, but all. Another facet of complexity is that even though order emerges seemingly from nowhere, that order isn't necessarily static. Complexity is adaptive and may change in response to external stimuli or the environment. Finally, complexity is nonlinear. Changes are not mere addition to a system. They can have both quantitative qualitative effects. Complexity theory has been applied to language and more specifically to language development. In so doing, it focuses on processes involved in the creation of linguistic system and less on production. All of a sudden, children are producing full sentences. There are clear lexical and functional phrases. In short order seemed emerged from somewhere. And yet that order is not static. Complexity theory asks how this system arose, how children suddenly learned and started to produce. Not by looking at any one aspect of language, but by looking at everything from internal architecture to input to social context and so on. Such a view is taken on second language acquisition by those interested in complexity and dynamic systems. For them, one can look at L2 development in the same way one looks at L1 development, regardless of how native-like or non-native-like the learner sounds. This theory has overlapped with emergentism, usage-based approaches, sociocultural approaches, and so on. Unlike other theories, complexity theory is not used to make predictions about language acquisition or development, other than the complexity involved in acquisition. Now, claims about complexity theory and dynamic systems. First claim, learning is not just about taking in data. Embodied in this claim is that although a complexity theorist would certainly underscore the role of input in language development, that person would say that actual system is more complex than an inventory of features or rules. Second claim, variability is common and to be expected, and because context influences language development, what gets strengthened and what gets weakened within system may depend on who learners interact with and the environment they find themselves in. The last claim, components are constantly interacting within the learner's system. Although we may often think of syntax, phonology, lexicon, semantics, pragmatics, and so on as separate entities, and linguists may certainly study each in its own right, complexity theory would say that to understand development would involve seeing how all these components interact in a meaning-making process.